Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. I thought I would just start this one facing the other direction because this is the direction we're looking anyway. So to recap a little bit of where we went last time, because I feel like that's going to help us understand where we are now, looking at the twos. When we look at the Fool, where did my Fool go? When we look at the Fool card, the Fool is rushing headlong towards we know not what. We know in theory that it's the abyss. But if we look at him in terms of like, these are two characters on a stage, right? This is how I look at everything. We've got the Fool, or it should probably be more like he's starting here upstage right. And the Fool's downstage left, or the Magician's here. So the Fool's going to go, wah, and he's running and they clash, right? Sorry, get a little enthusiastic there. So what we're getting is, this Fool rushing towards the abyss. What is the abyss? The abyss is inside this Magician, right? He's holding this wonderful sparkly toy here. The Fool is attracted to it. That's the light, right? For those of us who are light seekers, say, love and light, or I only work with the light, da, 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 da. It's really a tool. The light is a tool. It is not the be-all, end-all. Or in Zen, as we would say, it is not the moon itself. It's the finger that points to the moon, right? It's the flashlight that you use to get through the abyss. So what's in this flashlight? Well, in this flashlight are these incredible magical tools in the form of the tetramorph, which is these four. We looked at this last time. We have these four elements in their purest form as the cherubim. Okay, and in a way that can be taken through a process that lands with, our beautiful, innocent, pure Ace of Discs, who's then able to begin traversing and navigating this labyrinth, right, of material reality with all of these different, through the abyss into material reality, etc. Okay? Now, we're going to keep these guys off to one side here because we need to look now at the twos. So the twos, again, seem unrelated to our aces, right? They don't seem to really bear any real, how this relates to this visually is not always immediate, right? Or how this hawk or eagle relates directly to the sword, not immediate. Same here, same here. But as as I said in the last video, I jumped ahead a little bit. If we look, here's a clue. If we look here at this labyrinth in the ace's stomach, in its belly, and we zero in on that, what we have is a special tool, right? What's inside of our gut, right? What's inside of that space? Intuition. The gut feeling. So in the discs, if we go straight into what that is, this is at least, she doesn't say this explicitly. I should be careful here. None of this is stuff, a lot of this is not anything that Marie White writes in her guidebook. Okay, I've got two versions of it. I know I'm sitting here working with a version of the first, with the first edition, yes, and this is a second edition book. They're pretty close. They're almost identical. This one is not nearly as fettered, and filled up with crap as the first edition book. She doesn't, so none of this is coming directly from her, and yet it kind of is, because if we look visually at the story being told, where do I see green in the ace? I see it here. What does that represent? Well, let's see, the belly represents intuition. Well, what's here? It's where we tend to experience or think that we're experiencing in a way that we can begin to understand our intuition. And then she tells us how that's going to work, right? So how does that work? It works by having one eye. We have a yang. So that yang gold eye looks outward. What is it balancing? It's balancing the silver or yin coin, or the eye that looks inward. And that's how we begin traversing there. So that becomes a more direct tool here, right? Let's work backwards here. In fact, let's start here and look at this Two of Wands, because this will take us directly back to our High Priestess, and we need to bring her in here shortly. So again, we have this fire, we have this passion. What are we going to do with it? We need to go somewhere. We need to do something, right? It gives us that impulse to take forward. Well, where do we go with it? Into the abyss, right? But in order to do that, we have to be willing to walk through there. And if you have ever looked closely at this card, and that one is so shiny, I think I'll pull out my second edition deck here, and we'll see if we can find him. Give me your wands. Where are you? Here we go. I put both of these in order because I wasn't sure how many I would need. This might be easier, but if you look more closely, you can see faces. There's a giant face here and another face here. There's a nose and forehead here. But then within that, we've got bodies. There's a female body there. I mean, there are, in other words, little bodies and people and sparks of light and spirit all the way through the roots of the trees, the branches, and the trunks. It's a really genius, beautifully designed card. Okay, so what we get with that, oh, it's here. So what we get is that you've got to take this and find a way to move through, to get past staring into this portal and to jump into it. But there's no immediate bridge. Okay, when we look at this Two of Swords, it's as though the eagle has come up with enough in his mind to know that he has to move forward, but he doesn't quite know which way to go yet. A transformation of some kind, something needs to change, right? We have this beautiful moth. Something needs to change, something needs to shift. But there is no ability to figure out just yet how that's going to take place. Right? How are we going to move from the mind, from a mental, straight into doing something with it? It's going to require a lot of force, right? Oop, I've got a dog under my armpit here. Hi. Hi. Moving on. When we get to the Two of Cups, these two horses, right, that she's got drawn here don't seem immediately like, okay, what am I supposed to take from this, right? But if we look, where do we see red in this card? It's here and it's over here. It's coming closer to the heart. This is the two pumping, these two horse things are pumping the heart. They're in rhythm. So as one goes down, the other one comes up, and vice versa. And between them, that back and forth is the pumping of the heart. So again, the heart is pumping, but we don't have any place to go with it yet. Right? There's nowhere to where to take it, but the energy of the heart is there. Okay, and then again, we get a little bit closer when we look at, you know, the Two of Discs, the intuition, the intuitive space. Right? We could also look, I thought, oh, I don't think I mentioned this. We could also look at this Two of Swords as, you know, of thought and word, right? Or of intent and focus, but without the ability to do, you know, take it to the next step yet, right? Even sometimes I would say like having a thought and then beginning to figure out how to formulate words, or not. It's the crossing of two concepts that it's hard to, you know, their crossing is so hard to transform that you might need the heart. Do you see that little dot there? It's over the heart, kind of, you know, representative heart space of this moth. It requires some kind of transformation that brings you back into the heart in order for something else to move forward. All right, so let's get these aces out of the way because we got a story evolving here. Can you feel that? Or see that, or intuit that, etc. So we've got this magnificent portal presented to us that's inspiring. What could be through there? What happens if we go through there? We've already taken that leap. Now what, right? Well, hang on. I got to think about it for a minute. How do we get through there? I've got to focus. I've focused my intent before, but there's more now. You know, now I have a sense that traversing this is going to require, you know, again, taking this idea and taking my focus and finding a way to bring it forward. What do I need to do? Oh, look, the clue is right here where these swords cross. I'm going to have to transform and move this beyond where it is right now through opening my heart space. Right? And if we look to it at this, you know, at this picture, and we take something from this image and move it to the two, we have that wansy color here, right? That wansy red color that came from our ace. Where did that ace go? Right? And it's pretty much the same paint and mix. It's underpinning, literally, what's happening in this card. Right? So this two is not just a mix of the ace and the two. It's including the Ace of Wands that came before it. All right, so we get here, and actually too, when we think about what lives in a tree, we saw, you know, we have this, we've got tree branches. Here are all the little sparks of ideas in the tree branches. There's tree, I should be more specific. I see tree branches here, right? And then as I look at this card, I'm seeing these little sparks. Let me see, where's my not so shiny version? Here we are. So we see these little sparks of vision here up in the trees, little dots of light, which could be like a lightning bug, right? It's the branches, the ideas, the place where birds will perch. It's also where we might find this type of a lovely little bug, right? From the distance that we're standing, if a bunch of these moths were here representing, they might, you know, they might look like this. They might look like this tiny little dot and like this close up, right? Just the way I connect the cards when I'm looking at how she's conceiving them. But any way we look at it, in order to traverse this space, we can't do it through thought. You know, we can't do it through the inspiration to go through. We can't do it, you know, alone. We can't do it through the idea and the intent alone. We have to cross that barrier from thought and idea into the heart. In the heart, we have motion. Can these, these horses can get through, right? What happens then when we get to the other side? We're going to have, that's through this maze almost, right? Look at that. We've got, look at that. I'm so excited. This also kind of pays, I don't know, brings me to mind of what's in this labyrinth. We don't know what's in that labyrinth. We don't know what's through here. But we know from before that we've got to go through a labyrinth. We've got to go through a maze. And it's going to be in the form of the discs. We've got this intuition. I keep putting cards down because I don't know which one to pick up next. We've got this intuition from the gut. So now the heart, the gut, and the mind can carry us forward because this is also discs. Right? So the discs, it is the ability to walk forward, to use the legs to walk forward because we're in physical reality. Now we have the ability to move on to the next thing. Right? This could also be putting your focus on balancing money. Right? There's so many ways that we could interpret, all of these cards and readings. We're not doing that yet today, but I hope this at least makes it possible to understand, where we're going with all of these cards and with all of these concepts that she brings together in the suits, right? Now, let's look at our major. We've got the High Priestess here from the first edition and from the second edition. Okay, and they're very different. In the first edition, let's put our second away. Marie White is assuming that we understand the concept of the High Priestess and how she is represented in the tarot well enough that she doesn't have to spell it out. Right? She doesn't have to go down a traditional route of spelling it out. She can instead use a much more intuitive feel. So if we look at how she has mirrored some of the concepts in this High Priestess in the twos, right? We have these branchy looking fingers and hands and arms here that, if you see the change of color, this is our veil. That's providing the veil. We have to find our way through that. So what do we have here? We have branches and roots. She's also got roots here that take you downward in order to go through into that abyss. Now think about this for a moment, folks. If we're going through these two pillars and into a doorway or a portal or an abyss, looking at this card, we don't have, in this version, we do not have these two pillars that tell us what, that she holds the secrets and there's the veil, and so that we don't have that, right? So without those two pillars, where does that abyss lie? Well, it's below the branches of the trees. Then where are the two pillars? Because we've got these two pillars. It's her legs. So, this portal in the Two of Wands is also the creative portal that we're looking at in the form of her body, right? In the form of her body. So we're going, passing through here into the abyss, into the wisdom, of her body, etc. Right? So that's how she's embodying literally the concept of the wands. Now, with the swords, you know, and the mind, we have this nighttime, you know, all of these are well, these two anyway, are very nighttime. And what I see in this card in particular, again, we've got these portals, right? We're going through portals. There's the back legs and so forth. So in the intuition, there's some mirroring here between, you know, all of this up here and the headdress, I feel, that takes us into the mind. And either way, we've still got two, right? Two happening, as well as this spreading out at the top. There's also, you know, this kind of sparky, fiery business happening here at her feet, and this sparky, fiery business happening here at the bottom of this card. Right? Nothing here. There's really not much here, except, you know, in terms of mirroring between this card and this one, except that we have the sense from the previous card, from the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Cups, you know, where we're taking this beautiful blue color, we're opening it up into this sort of sky color, and we're looking at the inner workings of the heart. So in that way, we're still in the body of the High Priestess. Right? We're still in her physical body. And then, of course, here, you know, there is no face. But when we think about intuition, certainly most of us tend to put it inside the head. I personally like the idea that it lives inside the head and inside the gut. And I feel like there is some mirroring of that here, because we have this, you know, her belly is so prominent in this one. And here the Two of Discs mirrors the belly of the Ace. Right? And we have this very decidedly feminine being here. Who's looking out with that wisdom from the body, from the belly. Right? So, but because it's a disc card, remember, it is holding the inspiration, right? We have that yellow. It's holding the swords. We have that gray. And then we've got the heart as well, and the red here. You know, and it's in the head, but it resides in the belly as well. So, yeah. There's a lot. Now, this is where I struggle in this deck with the High Priestess, and yet it's okay. It's all right. It works. So this is a much more traditional High Priestess in this card. But you'll notice, instead of holding a book, she's still embodying the wisdom of the tarot. So this word is Torah in Hebrew. Long story short, there's a lot of esoterica involved in it. Let me know in the comments if this is something you want me to talk about. There's a very, very strong reason why the High Priestess holds all the secrets, right, in the word, the Torah, with the five, you know, there's a lot in here. There's a lot. So this is not a High Priestess lacking in depth, and I really don't feel that she's sold out to people saying, well, I don't get it, I don't get it. I think she's done her best to maintain the sense of integrity that she started, you know, in the first iteration of the High Priestess, while including the mysticism and the beauty inherent in the Golden Dawn system and the Kabbalah-based perspective of the tarot by creating this particular High Priestess. And I'll go into that in greater detail in another video, perhaps. Suffice it to say, what we're seeing here is that the Torah, or the wisdom of the law that is held in the tarot, actually doesn't exist in the deck at all. It exists potentially inside of this woman's body and intuition, which is accessed through the void, through the abyss. And she puts it inside the flames of this fire, I think, in order to remind us in the way that we have in the Magician. I wonder, where did my Magician go? Come here, Magician. I'm looking for a Magician. Any deck? Here we go. You know, in the same way we have this dazzling white light here, she's reminding us that the key lies in our passion, you know, in keeping that fire burning of the desire to know and to understand and to decode. But we still have the abyss present in both the High Priestess and in the Magician. Each is cloaked or has a veil, right? And we're still, in some way, placing that wisdom, that knowledge inside of the female body, inside that wisdom, that embodied knowing, right? So if we look here at the wands, she's telling us that our passion to move through that portal is what we need, right? Not necessarily to go inside our own body, but to rekindle the passion to move forward. You know, here, again, that passion occupies heart space as well. So I think the way she's used color is pretty genius. You know, here's where the fire is. It's still inside the body of something. And a moth to the flame. It just occurred to me. I've never seen that before. That's so funny. But yeah, this moth to the flame. Yeah, go in. Don't stay in the mind. You can't move forward just through the mind. You have to go through the body. So go into the flame, even though it seems dangerous, right? If you're a moth going into a flame, it will burn you up. But that's also transformation. Okay. Then, interestingly, if you look at the pomegranates in the background, they're kind of heart-like. Almost a little vagina-like too, honestly. But we have the white of the pillar. You know, we have the red of the pomegranate, which is like a heart. You know, the cup representing the blood moving through the heart. You know, there's no literal cup, sorry. I'm thinking about cups as a concept. Yeah. And the flame here it's in the heart. It's in the belly, the heart, and the mind. Right? And then, of course, we have the duality here. 1, 2. 2 pillars. Right? With the darker pillar and the lighter pillar. See how she's done that. And we have a face in the 2 of discs where there is no face here. And yet, where we would find a face, we find this fire. Again, the fire of intuition, of knowing, of trusting. Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. That's the 2s and the High Priestess, everybody. At least at least at this point, where did she go? Oh, there's my other one. So at least at this point, that's what we have. So I hope this has been helpful. We'll then see in the next one how we're transferring, or going from all the 2s and toward the 3s. Okay? Yay, I hope, yay. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Again, any comments, questions, perturbations, complaints, insights, all of it. It's all welcome. It's really all welcome. Criticisms, all of it. So let me know. Let me know. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.